Welcome to Lakeside Classics. I'm Henry. It's fantastic to have Matt here today and the rest of the Supercar Driver Club. I can't wait to show you what we have in store here today. The business started we've been training for just over 3 years. The actual catalyst for the business starting was a nut and bolt restoration of my dad's Jaguar XK150. My brother and I got really involved in that, and it really just sparked our interest for creating this business, and after some market research we saw the opportunity to start a business. But I suppose ultimately the passion for the cars, and more specifically Porsche, came from my dad. From a young age I've always remember peeking into the garage and seeing my dad's 964 Carrera 4 at the time in Guards Red, and it was the Porsche was always, you know, saved for special weather and special occasions, so I've always had very fond memories of cars. And well, now that you're here, it's probably quite easy for you to see by the name. I've always lived next to the lake for the whole of my life, so I've been very lucky and fortunate into waking up to those views. It can create some dramatic shots down there, and when we came up with this business idea, we thought we couldn't think of a better place than to place the cars next to that dramatic view. And ideally what we want is people to see the cars see a photo of a car next to that lake and think of us. Well, as you can see, we're particularly Porsche heavy and Jaguar. So yeah, again Porsche because it's always been a passion of ours, but we aren't limited to these marques. We've also dealt in Mercedes, classic Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, Bentleys and classic Fords, and we ideally look for cars that really original, a low mileage, have low ownership, and have been very much cared for the whole of their lives. We've had a few 4 litres now. This is the 3rd one that we've had. We always like having one of these in stocks because I think it's the pinnacle of the 997. With this car actually is an originally German car. There was a client in Monaco at the time who was looking for a GT2. We had a left-hand drive GT2, and we ended up part-exing it for the 4 litre, which is sat behind me now. The reason I personally love Porsche so much is because the evolution of Porsche. I mean, there's no other car marque, in my opinion, that you can place a 70s, with the 911, you can place the 72 2.4S and put it next to, as you can see, the 991 GT3RS, and clearly see that model has derived from that. And they've kept the fundamentals that have made them successful and kept throughout the ages, and you can still see the roots of the 911 today. Modern Porsches, I would say the most special, the one that puts the biggest smile on your face, would be the 4 litre. Limited in numbers, only 600 being made, but the sound of the engine is what I absolutely love. The driving experience with, you know, doesn't matter, it's a very forgiving, it doesn't matter where you are on the revs. You could be at 2,500 revs and it would still pick up in 4th gear, like it would if you're on a racetrack with, let's say, the old 930 Turbo. You could see with that you would need to wait till 3,500 revs, and then all of a sudden it would put you in the back of your chair. Whilst with the 4 litre it's forgiving. You almost forget when you're driving it on the road. You put your foot down at 2,500 revs in 4th gear, going 40 miles an hour or something, and it still just picks up like it should and hits the spot both on the track and off. It's a GT3RS, so it's a race car, but it can be driven as an everyday car as well, because it reacts so well in the low gears and going at low speeds. But then you get that excitement because the torque's so amazing that it just picks up. So, you know, you put your foot down on the accelerator and it bursts into life. And you'll see, there's no better way of seeing that now than you taking me out for a drive.
I'm pretty sure Henry could have gone on for days about just how special the RS 4 litre is. But like he says, this is just one of those cars that you have to experience for yourself. And as if by magic, I'm in the driver's seat. You should have listened to it. special just because it's rare. 600 made towards the end of the 997's lifespan. It's got a bigger 4-litre engine compared to the usual 3.8, 500 horsepower. But you can Google all those figures. What you can't Google is just what this car feels like, and that's what I want to try and get over to you. It is such a special and raw experience. They don't make them like that anymore. Even the latest GT3 with a manual, it's just not as raw. Like, the gear shift takes some proper effort. It won't blip it for you. You've got to do that yourself. The clutch is quite heavy. Oh man, what a thing. Anyway, the engine, because that's the main part of this car. It's even in its name, isn't it? 4-litre. It is so torquey. It's a naturally aspirated engine, quite highly strung, which usually means all the power's at the top end. And it is very strong at the top end. But it just pulls anywhere. Like 3,000 revs, foot down. Like what we're doing now, let's go into 3,000 revs, and it just pulls. But where you really want it is that top end. Obviously it's based on a GT3RS, so the handling is going to be pretty special. It's lighter than a normal 911, about 1,350 kilos, something like that. But everything's just so stiff. This is on the steel brakes, not ceramics, but I certainly don't need anything stronger on the road. Everything's just so direct, but you know, the new GT3RS is so direct, but it's just how involving this car is. You know, when you hear journalists on about cars where you just sort of feel part of it, that's just this car. It's like it just works with you around the road. Unbelievable. It's such a physical experience. Not because you get thrown around so much, just because you've got to work that hard for the performance. Oh my god, I drove one of these once before and said it was the best car I've ever driven. That's definitely still true. Now, this car has 7,700 miles on it. It's up for 329,000. A lot of money. Now a right-hand drive car is about 100,000 more than that still, which is crazy just to have the steering wheel there where you are. An extra 100 grand. So special though. But what it makes you think at the moment is a 3.6 RS. You can get a right-hand drive for about 120, 130,000. I know it's hard to say 130 grand's good value, but a GT3RS 3.6 at the moment just seems like a mega investment. I'd say this car is, I don't know, 10% better. But would you spend an extra 200 grand for it? I think you'd have to really, really want a 4-litre to spend that much extra. Honestly, if you did spend 300 grand on this, you would not be disappointed. Yeah, it's hardly surprising that it has a mega engine, the handling's amazing, it's a GT3RS, that's what they do, but it just has a feel that no more modern car has. I know it's still quite modern, 2011, but it's like they don't quite make them like this anymore, where everything's that heavy, you feel so much through the steering, the clutch is heavy. It's just so mechanical, it's awesome. This one's got the single mass flywheel, so when you're sat in traffic and you take your foot off the clutch, it just sounds like it's going to fall to bits, but it's almost part of the charm of it. It's so racy, it's genuinely a bit of a workout.